Welcome back for another episode of the LFGRX podcast, the go-to place for home gym business owners, microgym enthusiasts, and fitness entrepreneurs. We're your hosts, Andrew Towers and Geoff Murphy, and today we have a very special guest with us. Joining us is Ashley Hromyak, a remarkable figure in the world of fitness and bodybuilding. Ashley is an IFBB pro athlete across multiple divisions. She's also a seasoned personal trainer and a proud Army veteran. Her journey from the military to the bodybuilding stage is nothing short of inspirational. She brings a wealth of knowledge in fitness, personal training, and resilience, making her the perfect guest on this podcast. So let's dive into her journey, her strategies, and her insights. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Awesome. Yes. So Ashley, as a former Army veteran myself, or I am an Army veteran, as a former active duty service member, I would love to hear a little bit about your journey from the military into your professional career as an IFBB pro athlete and go to grow and as a entrepreneur.
So I was in Army Airborne from 2002 to 2011, and I've always been into fitness. It's always just kind of come naturally to me as a product of my environment growing up. And when I was in the Army, I was what they call like a PT stud. I mean, I could max the PT test on both the male and female scale. It just was something that I enjoyed doing. And my leadership saw that that it was, something that came naturally, and I was good at it, and I was good with other people. So they started putting me in charge of the people who couldn't pass the PT test or couldn't pass the height and weight. They sent me to get, my CrossFit level 1 certification while I was in, so that I could just have the credentials to train and help the soldiers, because I was in a joint unit at the time, pass who weren't. And eventually I was doing programming for my unit and whatnot, just do their fitness, our morning PT. And then when I started to, after my 9 years and I wanted to get out, I knew I wanted to pursue more into the fitness, because I loved working with the military athletes. And so I got a personal training certification along with the CrossFit. And as soon as I got out, the unit hired me back on as like a contractor to continue to train.
Oh, no kidding. That's awesome.
And then I also tried to pick up some hours at like one of those commercial gyms, and I absolutely hated it. Like, my life was miserable working as a trainer for those gyms. I grew up, my dad had a basement gym, so I grew up in that environment. I had some stuff in my garage, this was like back in 2011. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to open my own business. So in 2011, 2012, I opened my own personal training garage gym, and I was in Tampa, Florida at the time. And I just served like the men and women of my community, and it just started growing. And I enjoyed it because I got to work with people. I am a people person, and I love fitness, and just kind of incorporating the two and seeing those moments where people like have that aha, like I've reached it. I know what you're talking about. I feel good about myself. And then as I continued to work out, I started putting on more muscle and decided to compete. So then I spent a few years, like about 5 years, as I'm training people, also competing in the NPC, which is the amateur for bodybuilding. And then I went pro in bodybuilding in the category of women's physique in 2017. Did a couple pro shows there, and then decided like, hey, let me see what else I could do. So I did women's bodybuilding at the pro level, women's physique, women's figure, and wellness. And I just kind of, since I figured I coach people, I need to have that experience, not only, from a personal standpoint, but from like a coaching standpoint, right? So I can say like, hey, I've been there, I've done this. That way I can lead you better. I also went through my marathon phase where I did I've run 4 marathons, one of them being in Afghanistan. I did the CrossFit Open in 2019, and I placed top 10%, and that was only me doing CrossFit for like 8 months. So I just feel like as long as I'm out there being active and getting experience, I can then.
We all go through our own ups and downs, and I love hearing when it's clear. It's almost like a clear calling for you outside of military service. It's almost as if the opportunity pulled you from your Army career because there was another way for you to serve your community. So thank you for sharing that. And it's always exciting to hear stories like that. So tell us about Go to Grow. Tell us about, so you started in 2020 or 2012, 2011, and how has it grown since then?
Oh man. So in 20 community called Fish Hawk, and it was just a bunch of like my clientele back then was just, moms and women that raised the family. So I worked with these individuals, and that's where I started, just kind of very simple, people just getting into fitness and introducing them. And then as I grew, I was able to expand my base. So then I started incorporating, bodybuilders, people want to put on muscle. And then as I dabbled into like running and other things, I could keep bringing in, coaching, like, hey, you want to run a marathon? I can coach you for it. Or, I can go on training runs and pace you. I did all that. And so now, fast forward to this day, my gym setup is completely different. And even my clientele, I have very diverse. I can do, I do powerlifting to bodybuilding. I coach people to compete. I coach general health. Some people I simply, they just come and we do PNF, assisted stretching. And, that's what they need to be able to continue their own workouts, right? I help them reach, new mobility and flexibility so they can continue whatever it is they're doing. And, I also do online now, which I didn't before. So I have an app and I coach people from all over on my app as well. So it's just kind of grown as I have grown and able to bring in more diversity.
Ah, it's so exciting. Geoff, I know there's a few questions that you had for Ashley too. Did you want to fire one off?
Yeah, so when you were first getting started, you mentioned that you did a lot of training at a commercial gym, hated it, and moved out. Did you carry clients from the commercial gym to your own space, or were you out looking for clients in the community? And what did you do to find them and attract them to your coaching services?
Great question, and it's nice to like talk to you and see you. We correspond so much on social media. So to answer your question, no, none of the clients that I were working at the commercial gym at that time did they come to me, because the gym I worked at was about like 35-45 minutes away. So they weren't able to make that drive. So when I first started, I went around my little community and I put up little signs of, a picture of me and like, hey, offering, a half hour, an hour training, here's my information. And then also one of the best resources was the Facebook community page.
Mm-hmm.
Posting on there and getting the word out on that. I mean, people just started messaging me and, be like, hey, come for a free consult. Let's sit down. Let's chat. Let's see how we, if you like me and I like you. I try to make it very, no pressure. Like, hey, just no pressure. Just show up. We'll do a little workout. Get to vibe with each other. If you don't like me, if I don't like you, like walk away. And it was just kind of, just being seen. I would, do my fitness out in my driveway so people could see me in the neighborhood. I just kind of made myself out there with, flyers, with my own self doing activities like in the little common areas of the community back then. And then, like I said, Facebook community pages were it.
Was it ever a challenge getting people to come to your home and work out in your garage gym? Was that, and how did you help people work through maybe that apprehension, if there was any?
Yes. So there were a few people. Some people were just like, "Fine, that's great." So at the time, I lived in Florida, so my garage would be open, and so it kind of looked. It wasn't as like, "Oh, I'm going into this person's house that I don't know." So the weather was most of the time good, so they can just kind of pull in my driveway, see everything, see me, and it not be as intimidating. And for the ones that were kind of apprehensive, I'm like, "Hey, I can send you references, or we can meet first at like a Starbucks if that would make you more comfortable." I gave them options
Mm-hmm.
so that they felt that it was, a safe place for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny. I for me, in where I live in my community, it's hit or miss. So I guess maybe I need to be clearer in my like Google search when I come up, my gym pops up, and people I guess aren't always clear at first that it's a home gym business. And so the first time I connect with someone, I was actually texting with someone today who booked a rack time. It wasn't, they weren't, I guess they didn't understand at first that it was a home gym that they were coming to. But when I explained it, they were like, "This is awesome. I love it. So I got to welcome to the Microgym community and movement, and I think we've got new believers. Awesome. So, so now you're in Virginia. We won't get specific about the town that you're in, but so now you're in Virginia, and so was it a challenge for you to transplant your business from Florida into a new state? And what were some of the unique things that you had to overcome regarding that?
Um, Fortunately for me, not so much. So when I moved here, within like the first 2 weeks, I made an appointment at the local salon and haircut place just to get a haircut. And the woman was cutting my hair, and she's like, "Wow, you look amazing. Do you train or anything?" Because like I said, I live in the country, and there's the closest gym here is like 25, 30 minutes away. And I said, "Oh, I just moved here. I'm thinking about starting it up, but I haven't had any time to look into the business license and stuff." Well, she's like, "Let me know. I'm going to be your first client." And that's like, she was my first client. She kept, after we made that initial connection, she kind of pushed me like, "I want to train with you." Um, so then I, got on the ball, got my license up here, and set up my home gym and got the insurance for up here. And then she started coming to me, and she does hair for all the ladies and gentlemen out here, and she was telling them about me. And then again, I used the Facebook community page, and boom, like my client base was back up. So
No kidding. That's awesome. You're living the dream for that most micro gym owners, maybe not most, but many that we talk to have, is to run a business that can sustain their lifestyle, that they can transition out of their corporate gig or whatever it is they're not loving into full-time gym ownership. So you are a full-time gym owner or a fitness business owner. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Like I do. I just finished. I graduated last week with my master's from George Mason.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Psychology. So I was kind of part-time, full-time-ish because I was a full-time student. So I wouldn't say I was working 40 hours a week, but I was working maximally could while I was in grad school. So now I'm, going to open up some hours and whatnot. But yeah, it's been steady. I mean, I have, a full roster, so that's always been a blessing.
That's awesome. One of the things that people, I guess, that start off don't realize they can be as picky about who their clients are. So talk to us a little bit about what that looks like for you onboarding, and how do you choose who's a client you want to work with and not?
It's I said it's kind of like a gym date. I kind of am good. I've become good at reading people, so I feel if they're serious or not, and kind of their vibe. And most of the time, I'm a people person, so I don't ever really push people away. People are kind of drawn to me, so I don't have to worry so much about attracting the right ones. Because in my belief, like if you have, everybody has their tribe, right? You're going to attract the people that like what you have to offer, right? Both of you have your own unique way of doing things, and even on social media, people are going to follow you because they're like, "Wow, I like what he presents and stands for and whatnot." I will say one of my biggest hiccups would be since I'm a female, I have to be very strict about training males, because in the past I've had some sketchy where they want to they say they want to train with me, but it's not at all. They just kind of want a way to either know where I live or try to ask me out or something like that. So for me, how I found to navigate that was if the male has not been referred by someone I train, or if it's not someone I know personally, they have to pay a deposit for the consult. It will go towards their training session. So I found that this helps me weed out those who are the males who are legit, or that they're just kind of trying to pull a fast one. So those are things that I've had to navigate. And then along the way, I find that the people who aren't serious about it, they weed themselves out. Like I don't chase down clients. I don't say like, "Hey, let's hey, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Where are you?" I'm like, if you don't want to show up, I'm not going to waste my time on you. So I don't chase, right? I attract, and so I don't worry about finding the right people. Like the right people do, and the ones that like me and I like them, we work out, we stay, we build a friendship. And the other ones, they just kind of come and go, and I don't worry about that. Like there's so many people out there that I don't sweat things that don't work out.
Yeah. I think you hit on something that is worth exploring a little bit. We talked to lately. I've been talking to more women who are expressing interest in starting a micro gym business and training people from their garage. Talk to us a little bit about, unpack that for us. What is it like to be a woman in this space specifically, training from your home, and what are the other things that you might not actually give much thought to, but that you do naturally to feel comfortable about opening your home gym to people that maybe you haven't met face to face, or you haven't vetted. If you could just unpack for us a little bit about what it's like to be a woman in personal trainer in a micro gym.
I mean, it's great. Like I said, so for the males, usually there's a little bit of a sticking point because I don't know their intentions, and if they're not referred by somebody, I don't know. Like I said, I offer that they have to do a deposit, and most of the time we might meet at the coffee shop first because I don't want to bring somebody into my home that that I don't know. My last previous place that I did personal training out of, the home gym, there was an exterior door to my garage. So I didn't actually have to bring anyone into my home. They just came and left from my garage. And that was ideal for me because I didn't have to worry about somebody in my home. But where this setup, I don't have that. So when I bring women over, most of the time, like when they come over for the first time, we've already chatted on the phone. And most of the time now it's a FaceTime conversation so we can see each other, which for most kind of lets your guard down once you can see somebody, right, read their body expressions, their facial expressions. That helps a lot. And then bringing them into my home, I just remember that if I put myself in their shoes, like if I was somebody and I'm showing up to somebody's house for a service, how would I want to be treated and welcomed? So every single client I meet, I'm always standing outside my door. When they pull in, I greet them, I walk them in the house, I kind of, say, how are you doing today? I just try to make them feel as most comfortable as possible, and be considerate and just think like, hey, can I offer you a water bottle? Or how are you feeling today? Would you like to jump on the treadmill, or would you like to just go and start it and get started on some other things in the garage? So I kind of give them some options and to choose, because I feel as though too, when you give people choices and they initially like see you outside and you're waving and you're smiling, it creates a welcoming environment and gives them a little bit of power, like, hey, like I'm good here. And I don't know, I also, given my military background, I also know if someone messes with me, like I know I can defend
Whoop some ass. Yep.
Yeah. And plus I have two big dogs, which they're intimidating until you get to know them. So I'm more comfortable with them being around because, most people are like, dogs are friendly until you mess around with the person. And then, so those are the things I navigate. And I just have confidence in myself, which kind of also spans out and lets people's guard down as well, kind of being a female and creating that. I just feel as though it is my job to create the energy in the room. And if I'm happy and relaxed and I set that tone, then the people coming in will pick up on that, and it will help bring them down and just be like, okay, like this is a good space for me. Like I can do this.
Yeah, I agree. Geoff, it looked like you had a question. Did you want to jump in with one?
Yeah, I had some thoughts going as you were talking about how you're messaging at first, and then you get on a phone call, like a Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, before they ever even come over, because that's something that I've run into when trying to bring people into my micro gym, and I'm telling people about this idea, and like, you just have random people showing up at your house working out. Like, no, not exactly. Like, I'm meeting these people, I'm meeting them where they are, I'm building this relationship. We've talked multiple times, like I've heard their voice, and you've established that rapport before anyone comes over to book a session or to train with you. And I think that relationship building and meeting them where they are is what is so different in the micro gym space versus like the commercial gym space, where you just kind of walk in, stumble around, like you go to the area where you don't see many people are at or they're not looking at. So I think being able to offer that warm and welcoming environment, you've talked multiple times, you've established a relationship, and you're actually serving these people and bringing them value is a game changer in this space.
100% correct. Yes. I mean, when you're bringing someone into your home, as you said, it's more personal. There's more connection. You're not in a commercial gym. You're in somebody's own home, which, they live, and you can feel their smells and their energy and everything like that. So it's about, making them comfortable. And just a side note, if you've never read, like for business owners, the best book, in my opinion, that I have ever read to help me was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I mean, I revisit that book at least once a year, even if it's just kind of like the Cliff Notes version or the audio book, because it teaches you how to really connect with people and establish that relationship and bring that guard down and make them comfortable. And then you can apply that to every aspect in your life, not just in your home gym. But, when we were at Home Gym Con, I was applying that all those concepts walking around, trying to, I'm a bodybuilder walking around, and a lot of them, I think I was the only bodybuilder, and I didn't want people to be like, ew, because, so I walked around, win friends and influence people and be like, hey, I'm here to hang out too. Just, I want to be friends with everybody. So that's, people listening, and both of you, like, revisit that book often because it's gold.
Yeah, great book.
Yeah, it is one. Ashley, put your business hat on and talk to us a little bit about the business, the things that clients don't necessarily see, the ups and downs, the challenges in that, and some of the ways that you overcome some of the things that you might be weak in. As business owners, we have our strengths and weaknesses, some of the things we do better than others.
Initially, my weakest point was setting boundaries on myself from working from home. I work from home. I can just go up and down stairs and be available all the time. And before you know it, you run yourself ragged and dry because you have no boundaries for yourself. And you're saying yes to everybody at every time and every place. And then you're like, this isn't going to work for me. So my biggest challenge initially was set boundaries for yourself. Set your business hours and do not deviate from those, Ashley. Like, if you're done at 5 o'clock, then you do not answer your messages after 5 o'clock, because people will take advantage. I've had many, many clients, and they, in the past, and a few still do. Oh, you work at home, so, no big deal. I cancel. I don't have to pay because you can go. And it's like, no, at business hours. That doesn't mean I'm going to use that hour to work out, because that's not like there's so many other variables going on. So for me, it is about setting your business hours and sticking to them. And just because you work at home, you have to make it clear to your clientele that, like, hey, you missed the session without, 24-hour notice. If that's your policy, you have to pay for that. Like, this is my time. Even because I work at home doesn't mean I'm any less valuable, right? COVID changed things. And there's, people that do programming or whatever it is, and they started to work at home. They did not get paid if they, like, people still, they still had to honor those business hours for the others. Mine is no different. Just because I walk down, like, that's business time for me. This is my paycheck. This is what I do. So for me, the challenge was setting those standards and sticking to them and making clear communication with my clients that, like, hey, listen, I know we've developed this relationship and we've become friends, but that doesn't mean you can take advantage of me and my business at my house. That was really tough for me to set that, but I did, and it worked. And then I found out that the more boundaries you set and stick to yourself, the more that other people respect them.
I agree. Talk to us a little about some of those tough conversations that you've had, because you probably had to learn that over time. It doesn't always come naturally to people. Certainly not me either. When you have to draw a line somewhere, how do you approach that? And what are some of the successful ways that you've done it?
One of the greatest ways, I believe it's still from How to Win Friends and Influence People, is the sandwich approach. You start with, like a compliment, or like, hey, you did awesome today's training session or last training session. I'm really proud of you. And then you sandwich that with, like, in the middle, you're like, hey, listen, you've been canceling a lot lately. And you're taking time away from other clients, even though, I have your program done. So I need it to be clear that from now on, there will be a cancellation fee or whatever. And I look forward to the next session together because we're making great progress. So for me, the approach works really good. Like, you start with, like, a compliment or, something to kind of let their guard down. Then you serve them, like, but hey, listen, like, this is the meat and potatoes of the conversation. I don't mean anything wrong, but I need to clearly communicate this. And then finish off with, something again positive about, hey, I'm looking forward to this. We are making great progress. I really think you can do this. And, let's continue on. So things like that. And yeah, it is hard, especially when you build such close friendships with some of these people. I mean, I moved here in 2017, and there's still some of them that I train 2 to 3 times a week for the last 6 years. So like we're close. Like I've gone to Christmas dinners with them and family things. And you have to also be mindful, at least for me, of understanding that yes, we when we're outside of my gym, this is our personal relationship. But when it comes to in my gym, this is business, and we have to we can't just spend the whole conversation or the whole time talking or gossiping, or you can't cancel on me. Like there's a boundary, and you have to learn how to differentiate those and then stick to them.
Would you think that those boundaries change? Like for someone like me or someone who's first getting started into this business, right? And I'm putting advertisements and posts out on Facebook communities, on the Nextdoor app and things like that, and I get engagement on those posts. For me, as long as I'm not sleeping, it doesn't matter what time it is. I'm going to respond and try to have a conversation with you and see what I can do to help. But I would imagine that would change the further along you get into the business, where you have more of that steady stream of income. You can set those boundaries. So would you say that there's a difference from when you're first starting out versus when you're more established?
Yes, 100%. Like I call that, excuse me, the hustle. Like when you're setting stuff up, like you got to hustle, right? You have to be available. You have to be, because people want things now, right? We have social
Right.
media. They have responded in an hour. Like they're obviously ignoring me because people want, instant gratification. So when you are doing that, yes, you kind of have to be more on top of your game. You have to, be timely and efficient. But at the same time, like I would say it's kind of a general rule of thumb. Like you don't text and call people after 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Like it doesn't matter. I set on my phone. I put on my do not disturb to get on at 7, just to show people they do reach out to me. It just says like, hey, I have notification silence, so they know I'm not ignoring them. I have just set that boundary for myself. They're like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
business is closed, and then I don't feel compelled to answer them immediately, because before I did that, someone messaged me like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, I have to respond. And I'm like, no, like this isn't fair to me, because they're clocked out at work and their boss isn't texting them at 9 o'clock and asking them to answer. Like I'm going to do the same. So for me, setting the notification, do not disturb, as an auto response was a good way. So then I, again, didn't feel pressure to immediately respond, because at least they got some sort of feedback. But yes, back to, the original thing, you're going to have to hustle and grind. Your boundaries are going to change and ebb and flow even throughout the year, even once you're established, because personal training, right? It's always come and go, even throughout the year. Summer break happens, people are vacationing, things start to, die down. So then you kind of have to hustle a little bit and find some new clients or new avenues of income. And then same with like Thanksgiving and Christmas. So your boundaries are going to be a little bit different, but always, at least I would say, have them, because people respect others with boundaries, because they're like, wow, that person clearly has other things going on. And it looks, in my opinion, it looks good when you're just like, hey, this is my family time, or this is my, personal growth time. This is when I read and do personal development. Like, I hope you understand that. I'm not going to respond. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tip on those notifications, because you're still managing the expectations of the other person and giving them some feedback, while protecting your time and your space and your energy. Because from what I've seen, sometimes if you don't respond right away, you'll get a follow-up text like, "Hey, are you there?" And
Yeah.
people will start to take things personally without getting if they don't get a response.
You can even set, I'm pretty sure you can even set like an auto response. So if it did,
Mhm.
like, hey, Ashley has her notification silenced, you can be like, I'm pretty sure you can do it. I mean, I'm not iPhone completely savvy, but hey, thank you for contacting me. I'll get back to you to, my next business day starting at 7 a.m. or whenever it is. I'm pretty sure you can kind of tailor a response too. So it says something like, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'll get back to you first thing tomorrow. So they get that feedback. They're like,
Right.
get that instant gratification of like, okay, now I know what's going on, instead of, like you said, some people, yes, will just keep calling and texting, and then and you're like, and then you talk to them and they're mad at you, and you're like, I'm sorry, I was reading my time story, like, so that works.
Right. And you also talked about how you have in-person clients that you train, and you also train people online. Can you share more about the challenges and opportunities between in-person and online clients?
I love in-person clients because I feel I can have so much more of an impact, because I can see them, I can touch them, I can build more of a relationship and connection, and just help them flourish, right? I can put my hands on them and be like, hey, you're doing the squat wrong. Let me change your foot or your knee, or hey, let's fix your hips. Whereas online, right, it's very impersonal. Yes, I do weekly update video check-ins and whatnot. So they do get that, get to see me and get my feedback, and visually and audibly, have that like, wow, okay, this is a person at the other end. But honest to goodness, it is so hard sometimes for some people to stay adherent to online programs because they don't have that accountability, and that is a challenge. And sometimes that can run you dry because you find yourself, every couple of days, like, hey, how's it going? Are you on your stuff? How's your meal plan today? Like, hey, did you get your workout in? And that can be exhausting too, because then you don't want to be their babysitter. So then, like, I have an app where I can set reminders for them, but the challenge there is still they don't have that in-person accountability. So that's really tough. And then without that face-to-face connection, if they don't send me a video message reply for check-in, it's just like an email or something, then there's no what do you want to say, visual accountability. So they don't actually have to record themselves saying like, I messed up this week, I didn't follow the plan. It's easier to like type some things because you can kind of hide some emotions. So that's another, people maybe aren't as truthful, or they don't feel as accountable for their actions just by typing something, or they might leave something out. That's a challenge. So I'm slowly doing away with online training. Like, I'm going to continue doing, I find that my bodybuilding prep people, they're, those the one that want to do a show, like that's a commitment. They understand it, and there's a goal, there's an end point. It's clear, it's cut, it's a date. And so I will continue working with them. But like general population, sometimes it just drains me because, they're just like, oh, I want to lose weight and feel great. And you're giving them this perfect program, and you're doing all the things you can do as a coach and a trainer, and they don't step up and meet you that halfway. And then you just kind of feel like, well, that's a bummer. I just gave you everything I could. And I know that's, that's not on me. You're responsible for your own actions, but man, is that a challenge, and it can suck the life out of you.
Yeah. I believe it.
I offer personal training or semi-private training. It's where I program workouts for people, and they come in and do their workouts on their own. So it's one of the more passive ways for me to generate income using my Microgym, because I'm trying to get it to that point where it sort of runs itself. But one of the hardest things that I find is keeping people motivated, even though they're still coming in person. But because I'm not necessarily committing that, and they're not paying for it, to be clear, but they're not getting that one-on-one hands-on coaching. Even it has challenges that are akin to, I think, what online coaches might have, just like you're expressing. And to be honest, it's frustrating, because I often find myself wondering, am I doing enough? And, am I living up to what I've committed to? And the answer is typically yes, I am doing my part, and there's a meet in the middle. But it's still, as the trainer, you're doing it because you want the best for the person, and you know that what you're providing them is going to help them achieve some of these goals that they've communicated. And so when you don't see that buy-in, it's certainly it could be many things for people, but for me, it's frustrating as much as it can be discouraging.
To build on what you just said, 100%. I've even gone as far as after we've talked, and you say like, hey, like you said, these are your goals, this is what I'm tracking, and then I write it out, right? I say like, these are my expectations from you. They are clear. Number one, you will, and I write maybe 3 things. You will do your 30 minutes of cardio 3 times a week. You will eat at least 1 meal with a vegetable, and that I have them sign it, because so I can communicate. I've even tried that route where I'm like, these are my expectations. I make them clear, kind of like when you go to a job and you sign your contract for your job, like your expectations. It's clear, it's cut. And even having them sign it, and I say, print it out, put it on your mirror or your refrigerator. I have tried that, and still, it's so hard for some people just to commit, and it's frustrating. But then it's like, you can only do so much, and then you have to remember yourself, like, hey, I've done my part. I've shown up. I've gone above and beyond. I just need them to meet me halfway. And if they're not capable, then like, that's on them.
Yeah. And, I think it can often boil down to helping people find their why. Like, why are you here? Do you find yourself ever going there with your clients, unpacking that why, and does that help in the retention?
Yes. So that is one of the that is one of the things we do in the initial is I dig in and I find their why. And most of the time, if it's a female, they cry when they open up, right? I create the space for them, they talk, and eventually it leads to kind of an emotional outpour, which is a beautiful thing. I'm like, okay, we got to the root. This is why you're here, right? This is emotionally connected to you. And initially, yes, it works. They're like, okay, I'm ready for this, I'm ready for change. And then, after a month, 6 weeks, and you see them start to fall off, you remind them of their why, and then I don't know what it is, but a lot of them just are like, yeah, but, and they want to take the easier route or the more comfortable route. Yeah, but I've lived with it for so long that I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and at that point I'm like, I respect that. I hold space for you. That's your choice, and I wish you the best, because they have to want to continue be change and be uncomfortable and grow, and you can only do so much.
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
quote that goes like the pain of change must be less than the pain of staying the same, or something like that, to really see long-term success.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I buy into this. It's good to have things that are uncomfortable in your life. It's like why many of us cold plunge. I think all three of
Hmm.
us do this pretty consistently. I got out of the Army in October 22nd or 2022, so a little over a year ago. And I work out with a buddy of mine who got out the same day I did. And we've been consistently working out together in the mornings. And over the past couple of months, we've started being very disciplined about doing our cold plunge. And part of my motivation to do it is because it's doing something uncomfortable every day. I live a very comfortable life right now. You know what I mean? Like the challenges in my life are, unique, and it's very difficult to run a couple businesses. And, it's a difficult process to, um, start a company that I believe is going to make waves in the industry in the years to come. But I'm doing it from the comfort of my office in a cozy room in a cozy home, you know, and I don't have a ton of discomfort. And so part of the motivation to get a cold plunge is to do something uncomfortable every day, and finding tying the value in doing something uncomfortable, working out, with the why is something I've been trying to figure out. How do I connect these two things? Because like you're getting at, the why is doesn't seem to be enough always. And for some, it is enough. But it's like Patrick Bet David, and say what you will about the guy. Some people don't love his content, but he's all about finding your enemy. Who's your enemy? And tapping in the motivation of like connecting the people you want to prove wrong or you want to compete with your why, doing something uncomfortable. There's got to be a secret sauce somewhere in here that each of us can tap into, and certainly our clients. Now I'm just rambling here, but there's something to this, and I haven't found it yet, but I think there's something that we can do as home gym business owners for our communities by connecting these dots.
I agree with that 100%. Yes. And the cold plunge, I'm right there with you. I do it because I don't want to do it.
Right.
I do
Hmm.
choosing to get in it and then choosing to stay is really hard for me. But when I'm done, I'm like, man, I can do other hard stuff. So
Yes.
yes, just the fact that I am so uncomfortable, I'm like, yes, give it to me every day. I look forward to it because I'm like, it's an opportunity for me to just get a little bit better and a little bit stronger mentally, right? Build some grit. And I try to, which to that extent, right? Maybe some of our clients don't want to get in a cold plunge, but I try to incorporate at least one thing that I know is going to challenge them,
Mm-hmm.
the workout, something that's like, okay, this is a little bit more than we've ever done, and I push them just a tiny bit, but I know that they're going to complain about it and they're going to think they're dying, but afterwards they're going to be like, wow. So I try to incorporate that, like plant little seeds without them knowing. in different ways. But yeah, I wish somehow we could just kind of bottle up our ability to be uncomfortable. The three of us have and like sell it, then we'd be set.
I think we'll get there. Certainly will.
Yeah.
So tell us about, I mean, not tell us, if you could provide some advice to people that want to enter this space, you know, like if we've unpacked a lot here. Is there other advice that you would give to someone that is looking to maybe transition from their current corporate world? We've got a lot of people that are transitioning out of the military that come and apply to do their skill bridge with us, but are also expressing interest in starting a micro gym. What are some of the things that you've learned in addition to what we've discussed today that you know, someone can take and inform their decision making as they explore whether they want to open up a micro gym and a home gym business?
I would say, if you're even thinking about it, take the risk. Take the risk.
Hell yeah, let's go.
And
Let's
what is
freaking go. Yeah.
Myself and other people, what is the worst possible scenario that can happen? I fail. Well, if I fail, then what? Am I dead? No. Do I still have a roof over my head? Yes. Do I still have my family? Yes. So I'm like, okay, if I work out that worst possible case scenario, I fail, and then I'm like, okay, then that means that way didn't work. But there's a million ways to skin a cat. So then I try plan B. And you know, I tell people, and I said this morning on my story, it's not the mistakes and the failure that matter in life, right? It doesn't, because if you stack my failures next to my successes, I have tons more failures. You just don't see those.
Same.
You see my successes. What matters even more is missing the opportunities and experience for not even trying. Because even if you fail, you're going to learn, you're going to grow, and you're going to know how to do something. You're going to be like, okay, that didn't work, let me try again, right? If you're successful, that means you know how to do something, right? You're already good at it. Like that doesn't give you any room for growth. But if you fail at something, that means, oh, I don't know that skill set. Let me use other resources. And lucky for all of us, we have phones and books. There is not a thing in the world that has not already been written about, either on Reddit or Google or in a book. So if you don't know how to do something, or on YouTube, there's unlimited resources about already tried something. So I say, like, take the risk. Embrace the failure. Like, you know what? That's already a possibility. That's okay with me, but I'd rather give it a go than not try. And that's what I tell people. Like, if you want to do it, try it. What's the worst that can happen? Didn't work for you, you try something else. That's life. Like, I would rather do that than stay at a job that I didn't like, or do something that I was miserable in. Like, you know, who cares? Who cares? No one cares. Everybody's so busy that you just got to do what you want to do. And like, again, you fail. Okay, great. Like, that's great. That means I'm going to learn something. It's an opportunity for me to grow. So that is what I tell people in home gym business. If you're getting out of the military, you want to start something, go for it. Embrace the opportunity, embrace experiences, embrace the everything. Like, embrace failure. Like, who cares? Like, again, who cares? You know, go for it. You never know until you try. And on your, like they say, on your deathbed, you're going to look back and you're not going to think about all the times you did everything, you know, that everything worked out, but you're also going to be like, man, I wish I would have done X, Y, Z. And so just do it now. Do it now.
Oh, I couldn't say it better. I love it. And I absolutely agree. I wholeheartedly agree. 100%.
I love that. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to die someday. And in 100 years, I'm not going to matter. No one's going to remember me. So why not just go for it? Because it doesn't matter in the long run. Have fun, learn. And even if it fails, if it made you better, it's not a fail. Like, just from me, like, starting this journey earlier this year, like, I've learned copywriting, I've learned marketing, I've learned how to build a website, I've learned how to have, you know, salesy conversations, I guess, with people, and, you know, be able to present an offer and build an offer, and then inviting people into the space that I have. So you learn so much just by doing, and you won't know unless you just take action and do it.
And there is value in learning, right? Things. So, like they say, no situation is labeled as good or bad. It's just what it is, and you take away from it. Like, it's 100% right on.
Right. Love it.
Oh yeah. Ashley, how can people find you?
Oh,
where can they connect?
I am on Instagram, Ashley the Amazing. That's probably the best way to, you know, follow me. You can email me or send me a message, connect with me. Yeah, that's probably a good one.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Ashley, it's going to wrap up our episode today. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your story, your insights, your advice. You really are an inspirational person, and I'm really excited to share this podcast with our growing audience. Thanks for joining, and we're excited to publish this episode.
Well, thank you both. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thanks, Ashley.